Favorite time of day, boys. It's time to talk about basketball with the best small basketball community on YouTube. It's Hot Mic Sports Community, boys. Let's get straight into yesterday's slate. Today is New Year's Eve, so happy New Year's Eve. Hope you guys had a great holidays, finished off 2020 strong. I know it was kind of a rough year, but I hope you guys finished off very, very strong. The team I'm going to point out the most today is going to be the Hornets. That's going to be the topic of this video for real. But we're also going to go through the whole slate, obviously, and talk about every single games, just as we will do pretty much all season. So I'm going to start off with the Heat and the Bucks. The Heat beat the Bucks 119 to 108. Second game in the second day against those two teams. The Bucks lose after a 47-point dominant victory, and the difference in this one was Goran Dragic. Obviously, I pointed out in the last video that Dragic played pretty poorly. He had 2 points very inefficiently, and Dragic off the bench this year has been phenomenal, almost like all-star Dragic. And today, yesterday, of course, he put up 26 very efficiently. I also want to point out that Avery Bradley stepped in kind of for Jimmy Butler. He filled in that starting role, put in 16. Duncan Robinson played a little better. It was an all-around nice little barrage for the Heat, and the Bucks didn't play terribly. It was just they were just outplayed. The Celtics beat the Grizzlies 126 to 107. I didn't really have much of a question on if the Celtics would win this one, just because Ja Morant's not playing, Jaren Jackson Jr. isn't playing. But the Celtics had a career night from Jaylen Brown, 42 on very efficient numbers. And it's just proving that Jaylen Brown is going to be an all-star at some point in his career. And he's going to be very, very consistent. He's going to be a great two-way player in this league. I'm excited for Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum going forward. I hope that duo sticks together for a long time, and I don't see why they wouldn't. I mean, they're already going to for the next 5 years. So, moving on from that, the Hawks and the Nets had an absolute shootout, 145 to 141. The Nets beat the Hawks. John Collins and Trae Young collided for a very efficient 60 points, but Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving put up 58. The difference was you had guys like Joe Harris putting up 22. You had the bench go absolutely nuts for the Nets. So when the bench plays like that for the Nets, you're going to put up 145 points, and they did it efficiently. Both teams played very, very well. The only difference was I think if the Hawks had Gallinari playing, if they had one of their guards playing, they would have been a lot better off. And I think that the Hawks team actually, even though they lose, they proved that they can play with the big boys, because the Nets were at essentially full power. I mean, without Dinwiddie, obviously that's a tough blow, but they do have the depth, and they looked like a very, very good team. And when the Hawks are competing like this, putting up 141 in regulation, it is a good sign. Obviously, the defense is going to struggle a lot this year. And when we look at that roster, that's what's going to happen. But, I mean, two of the greatest scorers of all time, Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. Obviously, Kyrie's not in that conversation. But that is a very good team. And it is a very tough team to beat. So, props to the Hawks. Obviously, props to the Nets for putting up 145 in regulation. So, I'm going to skip over the Hornets for now. The Lakers beat the Spurs 121 to 107. Just a normal game, not much to talk about. The Blazers lose to the Clippers 128 to 105. Good one for the Clippers. The Blazers, you guys might want to panic now. I'm not going to lie. This is getting a little bit rough. But we're going to talk about the Hornets. The Hornets beat the Mavs 118 to 99. The talk about this year about the Hornets, it's been fun to watch. I talked about it in the last video too. But Gordon Hayward is back to almost all-star form. Obviously, I don't think he'll make an all-star game. But he's back to Utah form. And the guard play. That's really what I'm going to talk about. You obviously saw the thumbnail. Devontae Graham, Terry Rozier, and LaMelo Ball. Before last night's game, Terry Rozier was averaging 27.8. Devontae Graham averaged 8.5 assists, I believe. And LaMelo Ball, in his minutes, has been very inconsistent, but when he's on, he's really on, and he shows these flashes. So they have a really tough decision on what they're going to do. All these guys are fairly young. Devontae Graham, I believe, third year. Terry Rozier is obviously fairly young, and they paid him $17 million a year. And LaMelo Ball, obviously, is a third pick in the draft. So here's the stats they put up last night. Rozier, in 30 minutes, put up 18 points. Devontae Graham put up 9 and 29. And then LaMelo Ball, in 29 minutes, put up 22 points, 8 rebounds, and 5 assists on 7 of 10 shooting, 4 of 5 from 3. Obviously, LaMelo Ball looked amazing last night compared to the other guys, but there are nights where Terry Rozier goes off for 42. LaMelo Ball doesn't score a single point like opening night. Here's what I personally think they should do, and this is where the comments come in handy. This is all what that community is for. is for you guys to talk to me about what you think, and I can talk to you about what you think. I reply to every single comment, guys. It never changes. Devontae Graham, he is more of a 2. All three of these guards, or Devontae and Terry Rozier, are very undersized. So the 2 doesn't really fit them as well in terms of size. But everything else points to Devontae Graham as being a 2. I think he's got to start at 2 for you guys. I think Terry Rozier is just showing too much not to start him. I don't think Terry Rozier and LaMelo Ball can really coexist on the floor together. So I think that leads you to having LaMelo Ball benched. And that's why it's so tough, is because it's like LaMelo Ball, in his minutes, he's maximizing them. He's making it look great. But I just don't think that you can do this when Terry Rozier is as hot as he is. And he's coexisting really, really well with Gordon Hayward. I think you put in Devontae Graham at the 2, Terry Rozier at the starting 1. LaMelo Ball won't be ready just yet anyways. And this season might not be a throwaway season yet. This might be a playoff season for you guys. So you go all out. You start Terry Rozier. LaMelo Ball should be getting 20 to 25 minutes a game. So it's not like he's getting bench player minutes, like he's getting 10 minutes a game. Even though there was a game where he's putting up 13 points in 10 minutes and you bench him. As tough as that is, Terry Rozier and Devontae Graham are just playing better. So it is definitely a tough situation for them. I think LaMelo Ball has the most promise, other than James Wiseman, in this draft. I absolutely loved LaMelo Ball's game. I'm a huge fan of his. But I don't think that you can take away from what Terry Rozier is doing. He's exactly what they paid for at this point. He's looking super promising, and he's also a young guy. I think if Terry Rozier keeps this up, that's when the problem really comes in. I don't think that, because at the end of the season, I don't think you could really go forward with this 3-guard team, right? Because LaMelo Ball is maximized at the point guard position. Devontae is a stretch at 2, and Terry Rozier would also be a stretch at the 2. There's no way that they all 3 could coexist on the court together. The best way I could see this working out is Terry Rozier coming off the bench. You're paying him $17.5 to be your 6th man, which isn't the worst thing in the world. But if you're really going to make a push, you'd rather that be at a center or a power forward, even though you do have some decent power forwards. I think at this point the best bet is to try to flip Terry Rozier this offseason for a big man. Obviously, if he keeps up 25 to 28 a game, you don't want to trade him. And Devontae Graham really is untradeable. He's on a super duper small contract. You are absolutely stealing this man for his production. And you don't want to trade LaMelo Ball because he's phenomenal. So they really are in a pickle here. I think that at the end of the year, you basically just bank on Terry Rozier not keeping this up, because I don't think he'll be able to keep up 20 plus a game. And you flip him, maybe a first-round pick that can get you a big. Maybe it's something else. Maybe they completely miss the playoffs and they can get the big themselves. But they are in a seriously tough position. They drafted LaMelo Ball because at 3 he was the best on the board by far. And I don't think they messed up on that. I think the real problem was they messed up on paying Terry Rozier. But he's playing incredibly well. So the Hornets are a team to watch for sure. I want you guys to keep that in mind anytime you're watching the NBA, and it's the Hornets specifically. What does this mean for the Hornets' future with these 3 point guards? Because it is a toss-up, to be honest. And any way you see this, I really could understand. If you say start Ball, I absolutely understand that. In his minutes, he's been phenomenal. And if you want his development to go up, obviously you start him. But I think right now Terry Rozier is my pick for the starting job. Devontae Graham at the 2. So if you guys agree with me, let me know. If you like this video, please leave a like. That's what the button's for. And I'll see you guys in the next one, alright? Have a great new year. I'll see you, alright? Peace.